Change to factored form. Let's remember what factored form looks like. Y equals a times x minus root 1 times x minus root 2. So we want to change it from, in this case, standard form to factored form. These are factors because they're being multiplied with each other. All right, so to do this, what I like to use is what I like to call the X factor. It used to be a show or a movie, a show on TV where they would audition and they would sing, and the judges would determine who would go on and who would stay. And I use a big X as a graphic organizer for figuring out what my factors are. So we draw a big X. It's called X factor. And the number we put on the top, we multiply the A value times the C value. In this case, the A value is 1, and the C value is 20. So 1 times 20 is 20. And then on the bottom, I put the B value. Well, the B value in this case is positive 12. Okay? So the next part I like to call the Sudoku part of this method. You have to think of two numbers that multiply to give you 20, and they have to add to give you 12. Okay? So if I was you, I would take 20 and I would write down all the factors. So 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. So all of these multiply to give me 20, but I need them to add to give me 12. Well, 2 plus 10 is 12. So we're going to go with 2 and 10. Okay, next thing we do is we write two ratios on either side. So the first ratio is going to be the A value. The A value goes on top. The factor goes on the bottom. Again, the A value goes on top. The factor goes on the bottom. All right, we're ready to change forms. So we have y equals, our A value is 1, so we do not have to put a 1 here. X. So to write the factors, we're going to start off with this one. So 1 goes with x. So 1x. And since it's positive 2, we put plus 2. The second factor is going to be 1x plus 10. Okay, so now we have factored form. Now to check your work, we could just FOIL this and see if we end up back with this. Let's do this real quick. X times x, x squared. Okay, that's your first term. The inner and the outer. The inner is 2x. The outer is 10x. 2x plus 10x gives us 12x. And then our last terms, 2 times 10 gives us 20. So these are equivalent equations in different forms. Okay, example number 2. First of all, what do you notice? Notice that they're all divisible by the A value. They're all divisible by the A value. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by factoring the A value out of each term. Okay, so I get 5. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into negative 5. Negative 1 time. 5 goes into negative 30. Negative 6 times. Basically, I divided everything by the A value. Okay? All right, so we need to factor this. So we're going to draw our x. We're going to put a times c on top, so my a value is 1. We're factoring this inside here. Okay, so this number here is just going to stay on the outside for right now. So this a value is 1, this a, and this c value is -6. So 1 times -6, b value is -1. So on top, we want to multiply. On the bottom, we want an addition. So what two numbers multiply to give me 6, or -6, and add to give us -1? Well, let's write down all the factors of 6. So we got 1 and 6, 2 and 3. That's it. So since we're dealing with negatives, we have to think, okay, is there any way to add or subtract these in order to get -1? Well, we could do the difference of 2 and 3 is 1. So it's going to be 2 and 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. Now we have to get the signs right. So would we do -2 plus 3 to get -1? No. Would we do 2 plus -3 to get -1? Yes. So negative would go on the 3. So 2 plus -3 is -1. 2 times -3 is -6. All right, let's write our ratios. In this case, our a value for this inner trinomial is 1 over 2. The a value for the inner trinomial is 1 over -3. So let's write our factor form. So y equals, bring the 5 down, 1x plus 2, 1x minus 3. And there we have factor form for number 2. All right, let's come back to our last example. We have y equals 2x squared minus 11x plus 12. Don't forget, the 12 represents the y-intercept. Some information you can get from standard form, the y-intercept. All right, let's change it to factor form. So first of all, can I factor out a 2 out of each term? Well, 2 doesn't go into 11, so no. So let's go straight to our x. Okay? Remember, a times c goes on top. So 2 times 12. B goes on the bottom. Okay? We need two numbers that multiply to give me 24 and add to give me -11. Well, writing down the factors of 24, we get 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. All of these numbers multiply to give me 24. Now, what combination will give me an 11? Adding or subtracting? No. 2 and 12? No. 3 and 8? 3 plus 8 is 11. Looks like this is going to be the one we're going to use. Because I can't get 11 no matter what I do here. I can't get 11 no matter what I do here, but I can get 11 here. So 3 and 8. Now we have to think sign. So if we're going to add these together, and I want to get -11, -3 plus -8 gives me -11. -3 times -8 gives me 24. So those are our two numbers. Writing our ratio, do you remember what goes on top? That's right, 2. Remember, your a value goes on top. Your factor goes on the bottom. Your a value goes on top. Your factor goes on the bottom. Now here's something different. Notice these two ratios. Notice something about this one. We can reduce it. And you do want to reduce your ratios whenever possible. So 2/8 reduces to 1/4. And keep that negative on the 4. Don't ever move that negative up top. Don't ever do that. Leave the negative on the number it started with. Okay? All right, here we go. Y equals 2x minus 3. 1x minus 4. So now we have our two factors. Now notice our a value here is 2 and our a value here is 1. Well, that's not right. We need a 2 out front here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to factor out a 2 out of these two terms. Okay? Now remember what that means. It means we're dividing both of these numbers by 2. So if I factor a 2 out, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Negative 3 divided by 2 is negative 1.5. Okay? Times x minus 4. So that is your factor form. We need that a value out front. Okay? So if that a value isn't there, you need to find it. It's right here. You got to factor it out, which means to divide. Hope you guys are having a nice evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Go Vikings, go!